So unless you've been living on a rock and Vulcan for the last 5 years, or at least the last 24 hours, Star Trek Discovery premiered last night. It's the morning. I have morning hair, which you really can't tell the difference because I always have morning hair. And boy, are the Discovery haters pissed. They're not pissed about my hair, although I can almost guarantee you they're going to comment on it in the comments below. Anybody who hates my videos will always comment on my hair. They will either comment, well, they'll comment on a lot of things if they can't really make a real aesthetic argument. I can almost guarantee that I'm going to get more dislikes than likes on this video, largely because that is part of the group that I tend to be hanging around as of late. I can almost guarantee that I will piss off both the haters and supporters of Star Trek Discovery. That's just the way I am. I have a habit of making an enemy of both sides. But the point is Star Trek Discovery launched last night with 2 episodes, and I enjoyed it. It's not the Star Trek of my generation, but I still enjoyed it. What you have to understand is that I don't really approach this from a, oh my god, I have a nostalgic point of view from this. My nostalgia is basically based on nostalgia. My nostalgia is basically based on what I used to enjoy, not how something new that reinvents something is going to bring back that nostalgia. If I wanted nostalgia in the new Battlestar Galactica, well, I got some nostalgia from it with guest appearances, but that was about all I really got from it. I still enjoyed a particularly new show, and this is the same thing with Discovery, Star Trek Discovery. Let's talk about the positives to begin with. It has a very compelling storyline. There's no getting around that. There is a compelling storyline. The characters are well established. They have their strengths, and they have their faults, and they have conflicts, which is, other than Star Trek Deep Space Nine, you never really got a lot of that in Star Trek. It was actually good to start, even in Star Trek Voyager, where with 2 crews, that the conflicts were resolved pretty quickly. But in Deep Space Nine, the conflicts were almost continuous. Like Kira and Cisco, even though they buried a mistrust of each other, they never actually buried a hatchet of differences of opinion. They never actually got round to resolving that, and that's what I like about Star Trek Discovery. There's a lot of issues that will never actually be resolved with regards to character faults, and that's how we function as humans. Another thing I like about it is Saru. Saru is a very good representation of what the Federation is now. It's young. It is just becoming a superpower. That's where it is right now. It is on the cusp of the unknown, and there are tremendous risks that come with that superpower status. There comes a risk with that curiosity. And Saru represents the paranoia that comes with that newfound curiosity, that comes with that coming out of the crib, the fear of the unknown. It's not to say that Saru is a coward. He's not. Saru is, is probably one of the bravest of the characters out there. But at the same time, his species was actually bred to be aware of the threat. So he pretty much represents the Federation very well. Um, the Federation are pretty much aware of the threat that's awaiting them, and as a result, they're pretty much permanently on a military presence. But at the same time, as the ensign says, we're explorers, not soldiers. Well, to be frank, he was half right. When you look at the Star Trek, the original series, it was about exploration, it was about discovery, but at the same time, Captain Kirk was always a military man, as the episode Balance of Terror quite rightly points out. And the same applies here with the captain, played by Michelle Yeoh, who is an explorer. She wants to be an explorer. She has this wonderful, beautiful outlook on how life is and how life should continue and how to survive and how to be something greater than you actually are. And then to have the fear of actually having to return to being a military woman. You can see that, that response with pretty much every one of the senior officers. The Admiral, for example, is very much, we don't want to war again. So what I'm curious about is, what was the previous war that Michelle Yeoh and the Admiral was involved with? What was so bad about the previous war that made the Federation, more careful about it? More careful about how they deal with first contact situations. I have a theory, but I'm not going to go there right now. I like the Klingons. The Klingons are great. A lot of people will disagree with me on that, but I do. I do like the Klingons. I like the look. I like their new look. Now, a lot of people are kind of going, how dare they change the Klingons so much? The Klingon houses, we were expected to see old-style Klingons in the Klingon houses and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, let's put this on the table here. And this is just a theory. I may not be correct or anything like that, but it's just a theory. The structure was old. Very, very old. It is called the Light of Kalos, which suggested it was built around the time of Kalos, or sometime after the time of Kalos, when the Klingons suddenly became a spacefaring race. Which means that we're talking about something that is really old. We're also probably talking about something that the modern Klingon Empire probably isn't even aware of, because there was a religious aesthetic to these new Klingons. So when this structure summoned the Klingons, summoned the houses of the Klingons, did they summon the 24 modern houses of the Klingon Empire? Or did they summon the 24 ancient houses of the Klingon Empire? Something to think about. Something that nobody's actually considered. Why would an ancient device, summon modern Klingon ships? Why? How could it possibly do that? Why would it be aware of what to summon in the future? It's aware of what it was supposed to summon at its time. So, and when I look at these new Klingons, I see a lot of religious aesthetics about them. And the Klingons are an atheistic empire. They killed all their gods. You don't have any need for them. So, who are they? They're definitely related to Kalos. Kalos gets a lot of mentions gets a hell of a lot of mention in this. They're definitely related to the Klingons. They're definitely Klingon. There's no doubt about it. The other thing you've got to notice about them is that they are pretty much unaffected by the augmentation virus. Another thing to notice is that they are a hell of a lot more reptilian than their modern-day counterparts, who are more humanoid. So I got a feeling we are going to see TOS Klingons in this series, and I got a feeling that the TOS Klingons are probably going to be a little bit surprised to see that these guys are back. They're probably going to be just as much horrified and scared to see that these guys are back. So I just want you to think about that. The effects are wonderful. it's a movie for TV. There's no doubt about that. So I really enjoyed that aesthetic too. Negatives. I'm still trying to get used to the look of the Shenzhou being pre-TOS. I'll be honest with you, it feels more next generation than pre-TOS, but I'm sure there's an explanation behind that. Whatever, we shall see. There aren't really that many negatives I can really touch upon. It's not to say that Star Trek Discovery, the first 2 episodes, were perfect. There are flaws. It felt a bit dodgy in places. The actor felt a little forced or whatever in some places. But most pilots do feel forced. The premiere of Orville felt very forced. So I let these pass. On these situations. Was it dark? Yeah, it was dark. There was a lot of darkness in this. There was a lot of war, fights in this. But then again, there was fighting in Star Trek Voyager, fighting in Deep Space Nine, fighting in the first episode of Enterprise. And it was better than Encounter at Farpoint, but if I've got to compare it to something. So I can excuse the fighting level of it because war is part of the Federation's history. Axanar fans will be pissed, largely because they're the largest haters of the CBS and Paramount right now. But also, they will hate it because it totally destroys the mythos of Axanar now. Especially when the Admiral says that there hasn't been contact with the Klingon Empire for 100 years, except for a couple of skirmishes. So really that kind of throws the Axanar 4-year war right out the window. And it seems obvious now that Garth didn't have a conflict with the Klingons at Axanar. Kind of puts my movie on the kibosh right now, but I think I can come up with something new. Haters are going to hate on this. There's no getting around that. You just have to go to Fan Film Forum, and you'll see the hatred oozing out of that place. But Fan Film Forum was actually built as an anti-CBS base anyway, so pretty much everyone there is going to hate on it anyway. So I don't take their comments with a pinch of salt. They actually complain that I'm not listening to their complaints, but as they've been complaining about Star Trek Discovery for nearly a year now, I really don't take anything they have to say with a pinch of salt at this point, largely because I didn't expect any better or anything different from them. Orville fans are actually liking this, believe it or not. Yeah, there is some childish Orville versus Star Trek thing, Star Trek Discovery thing going on at the moment, but I don't understand why. Orville and Star Trek Discovery are 2 very different shows. You can't compare the production value of Orville to Star Trek Discovery, for example. You can't compare the story of Orville to Star Trek Discovery. You just can't. I enjoy Orville for what it is, and I enjoy Star Trek Discovery for what it is. And I'm not going to, and if you want me to give you a comparison of the 2, you're not going to get it. I will say this, I enjoy Star Trek Discovery so far more than I enjoy Orville. That much is pretty much obvious from the reviews, but I'm not an Orvilleite and I'm not a Trekker. I'm a guy who enjoys science fiction. I don't give a damn about your BBSs or your forums or your fan, or your fan groups or whatever. I enjoy Star Trek because it's good sci-fi. I enjoy Orville because it's, well, at the moment it's decent sci-fi. Sorry. And if that upsets you, sorry. So yeah, that's it. Star Trek Discovery premiered last night. Really, really good. I enjoyed it. It's my job as a critic to tell you what I think of it. The flaws, the faults, and the best of it. It's not my job to tell you to enjoy it. It's not my job to tell you to watch it. It's my job to advise you, whether, give you an informed opinion as to whether I think it's worth watching. And in my informed opinion, I do think it's worth watching. If you disagree with me, please comment in the comment below. If you disagree with me, please do what I'm going to expect you to do, and give me crap about it, or give me a low rating in the video bar. I really don't care at the end of the day. Star Trek Voyager, Star Trek Discovery, not Voyager. Good. I enjoyed it. Well worth my subscription fee. Well worth what I paid for. Until next time, ciao.